Welcome to Built-In Boost, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes at the DDS companies, where we're laying the foundation for tomorrow's infrastructure. In each episode, we bring you the real stories from the people who make it all happen, honoring everyone from the field to the front office. Join us as we explore their journeys, uncover the lessons they've learned, and show you how to build a rewarding career in the civil construction industry. If you're ready to learn from those who've built their success from the ground up, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
What's up, guys? It's Jordan Potter. Today's episode kicks off a powerful two-part series with the crew from Field Precision, one of the most respected names in operator qualification and field training in the natural gas industry. Field Precision specializes in preparing crews for the real world, delivering hands-on OQ evaluations, mentorship, and safety training that actually sticks. In part one, Cruz Gonzalez, Todd Wiggins, and Matt Peterson joined Mark Payne to break down what it means to build strong crews, lead from the front, and earn respect underground. Let's get into it.
First things first, let's do some introductions just so everybody, following along knows who I'm sitting with and where we might be and what's going on. So to start off, we're in Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm joined by Field Precision folks, and I'll let you guys kind of take it from there. Go ahead, Cruz.
So my name is Cruz Gonzalez. I am the co-founder of Field Precision OQ and Training. We're a mobile team, travel all over the United States, providing services, OQ, training, audits, and a little bit of everything in between.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
I like to confuse people. My name is Mark Todd Wiggins, but I go by Todd.
I love that.
And I work doing training, OQ stuff, and fusion, different things, inspections, and things of that nature. Safety is kind of something we've just come into recently, but it's always a part of when you're out doing checking on crews and stuff for quality. So
yeah, absolutely.
Matt Peterson, also the co-founder of Field Precision OQ and Training. Really enjoy being on the podcast with you. I really love the passion, integrity and excellence. That's kind of what we all kind of go by. That's kind of what drives me as far as Field Precision, going out, making a difference, making people better. That's what I really live for, especially in the gas industry. It's a
cool,
rewarding career.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So, all right. So I'm sitting here with you three. Who wants to go first? I'm looking for like the origin story. Where'd you guys come from? What led you to here? I don't know which one of you wants to go.
I'll go.
All right, go
Get
ahead.
it over with.
Have at it.
Oh, where do I start? So I graduated high school. I tried the college route. It's not for everybody. I was, the 10-year associates program. It wasn't for me. My background, I grew up farming, hard work. But I actually watched people that I grew up with 60, 70 years old that weren't able to retire, and, have a good retirement. So that kind of shifted my focus. So I went to work at a manufacturing plant, Peterbilt, and got laid off. Mm-hmm. And here I am, married, new house, all kinds of payments, and a daughter.
There you go.
And I was like, we got to figure something out. So I actually applied at the gas company 3 times. Mm-hmm. I got interviewed by the same people 3 times, and I don't really know why they didn't hire me the first 2 rounds. I actually bought a new pair of boots just for that interview, and I still have them.
There you go.
But the third time, I asked those guys, I said, look, I'm serious about this. I want a long, rewarding career. I want to do something to support my family. And I asked those guys in that last interview, I said, you know what? You guys have asked me the same questions. This will be the third time. Are you going to hire me or not?
Yeah.
And I got hired.
There you go. It's awesome.
But I was with the gas company. I'm working on the 16th year, being in the natural gas industry. Started at the bottom. Really wouldn't have it any other way. I'm a hands-on person. Learned by mistake, and the gas company I worked at didn't have a formal training program. It was one of those things they throw you out in the field and hand you a shovel and they say, there you go, start digging. That's what I did. Worked my way up to foreman, relatively quick. I've always tried to have a strong work ethic, and I've always tried to outwork everybody I was around, and it worked for me. I was a foreman for a long time, trained a lot of people, got kind of iffy with upper management where I was at, and I decided, I'm going to do something a little bit different. So I ventured into project management. Did that for 2 or 3 years. And then they actually, I was out on a job site. I did all the high pressure tapping when I was out in the field, and I liked it. I like that kind of pressure, that type of environment. You're in that type of situation. You're dealing with high pressures. Potential lives are at stake, and that was my gear. I like being in that type of atmosphere. Just go, go, go. That's high risk, I guess, is a good way to put it. They approached me and asked me if I'd like to do some training. Said sure. And I always liked training. I always liked making people better. I wanted people to go home safe. Every day still when I go visit crews or I talk to people, I tell them, my job, I go back to the hotel and go to sleep tonight knowing that I shared information with you, and I'll sleep good. If I leave here and I don't tell you, what I see, then, we're going to have some issues. Somebody's going to get hurt or killed. And, I took over safety and training, at the co-op where I was working. I did that for a long time. Like I said, what gets me going in this industry and what keeps me driving is, making people better and actually changing lives. I guess that'd be a good way to put it. And this industry will change lives. I have all kinds of people that I look up to. You mentioned Billy Kidd earlier. He's one of them. And I have some old guys, that taught me a whole lot of stuff, the technical stuff, the SCADA stuff, the regulator stuff, the hardcore stuff that is boring to some, but I dig on that, and the math stuff, and the odorizations and all that stuff. I really like that. And I took that, safety and training thing to heart, built a 5-year apprenticeship program at that company I was at. It took me, I don't know, it's about 6 months, a task specific program, that B31Q, you're following, task specific type standards. Right. It was, something I really enjoyed doing, and I liked it, and they actually still use it to this day. So I pretty big accomplishment for me, but I basically, I got approached to actually expand, maybe doing a little bit of travel. The gas company I worked at was relatively new, so I didn't get to see a lot of the nitty gritty type stuff that you see across the country. And it's a mix where you go, the materials you use, the pipes you use, the tasks, the different ways people do it, the different, the way different companies exceed, 49 CFR, right. That's it's been really interesting, and it's kind of kept me going really the past 3 years as I've been on the road. It's learning something new. This industry is always, it's a never ending, I guess, learning. It's always something.
It is.
But yeah. And we did good at our last employer. It was a good deal. Like I said, we got to travel, meet people, contacts, develop relationships, and I really can't forget about the college part, and actually recruiting students from all over the country, bringing them in, and actually they know zero about natural gas, and next thing you know, you're out there trying to teach a guy how to run an excavator, and the transformation of that, and them actually like soaking all that up, and you be engaging. These people come to you with their lives at stake, and you're changing their lives, and the 7-week program we did, it was really awesome. You didn't teach them everything. You can only fit so much into 7 weeks, but they, the very end there, having the gas rodeo, and those guys competing on the excavators, and, the knowledge, the skills and abilities, they're aware of all that, and they're hungry to go out and actually get a job, and like I said, a long, rewarding career, because that's exactly what it is. And, still to this day, I do the inspections, and I here in Massachusetts, I love appreciating those guys for the work they're doing out there, because it takes a special person to be out there digging in the dirt and actually get around. It's so awesome to see that, and those guys thank you for appreciating.
Yes,
it was so awesome to be a part of that and kind of see that, and it's just a great feeling, and we're in the days now where it's hard to find labor, and it shouldn't be. It's one of those things, that maybe we need to do a little bit better job advertising, or maybe let's change up, the school system a little bit, and prepare people to, to go out to the trades, whether it be water, welding, whatever electrical, whatever you can think of. But it's, I don't know, it's just so rewarding for me to see people, the light bulb pop on, be engaging and be, just be a part of it. You're in a relationship with that, and it's kind of cool, the LinkedIn thing. I still have access and communicate with every student that came through.
Yeah.
And, they're always asking you for advice, and sometimes I'm asking them for advice.
Yeah.
But that part was cool. I wouldn't change any of the past. It all happened for a reason. And, really this time last year, we were actually in a position to where we were like, well, what are we going to do next? What's the next steps for our lives, in our whole situation that we were in, and the birth of Field Precision. That's when that happened. And, we were telling ourselves we can do this. It's, we don't need to work for a corporation to change lives or travel the country to make things better. It just, and, first year starting a business, it could be sketchy.
Yeah. Scary.
You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, I knew it would be that way. I was somewhat prepared for it, but I don't think you really ever are prepared for it.
No.
But it's taken off, and it's great. And, I share the business with these two other guys here, and it's great.
Yeah. It sounds like quite a path. I mean, all the way from the ditch.
Yeah.
To sitting here today.
Yeah.
That's a huge transformation in itself.
And we couldn't do it without great companies. They got to have the same culture, the same mindset, or willingness to change.
Yeah.
And change is not always easy.
No,
I don't think it's ever really easy, but it's something that I'm so grateful to be a part of. It's just awesome. If I could go back, 10 years when we were all thinking about starting a business, it's jumping off the deep end kind of deal, but it's not going to be easy. It never will be. But it can only get better from here. And if I was telling any of those college students or anybody interested in being in the trade, the sky's the limit. You control your destiny. You control everything down to, tasks you're doing in the field, following the standards, I've had conversations, recently about, holding each other accountable, on the job site. That's where it all starts, and like I said, I appreciate those guys. I let them know, hey guys, you are the guys making the money out here. You hold the cards here. Our business revolves around you guys in the ditches here.
That's right.
But I could go on and on, but
you're doing so good. I hate to even interject here, but no, it is good stuff. And, a lot of those same things that you've talked about, about touching lives and being able to help a lot of folks and really changing lives, especially, with the college and things like that. I had a similar path with the college that I worked at, and it's amazing. Those guys still reach out to me today. Yeah. And we talk and we share, stories, and, these guys were during the era of Facebook when that was real popular. So it was, a lot of Facebook memories pop up, and it'll be time that we shared together, different milestones, different things. And you'll hear from those guys.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It pops in and pops back out. You hear from them, and you get to see a lot of how they're living their life. What I really enjoy is seeing a young man that was in the program, and then seeing him post a photo with his wife and his child in front of their house.
Oh yeah.
Those sorts of things. He's in the trade. He's doing what he was taught to do.
Yeah.
And just out there killing it.
Yeah. I mean, we've got students that are foremen now.
Right.
Or, even more.
Uh-huh.
And it's all, I always told those students, I always called them kids from time to time on accident, but like some of the people were older than me in there.
Yeah.
But
they were kids.
And there's no age limit to that. So when you're ready to jump on board and get in this industry, it's time. But I always told them, you get out of it what you put in.
Yeah.
And that goes for everything.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, like I said, we could go on and on.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Todd, you want to take a stab at this?
Yeah,
that's a tough act to follow.
I was going to say, he really put the pressure on me. No, I was born and raised in Florida, and then how I got here is kind of a crazy story. I graduated high school and wasn't really thinking about college, so I started working at a produce market, saved $1,200, and then took my 1972 Ford Pinto for a road trip. Broke down about halfway across the country and didn't have any money left. So I went into a grocery store and grabbed I was going to try to get a job there, and then I walked out of there and there was an Army recruiter next door. So I threw that away and walked into the Army recruiter and joined the Army there, and then sold my car for $200, and then went in the military and was in for 4 years. Got stationed up in Washington State, and after 4 years, I got out. Was in 2nd Ranger Battalion. There are no jobs for Rangers unless you want to kick indoors or be a contractor. So I started doing siding on construction, on houses and apartment complexes, and I was like, this is not what I want to do. And I ended up meeting a lady who worked at the gas company, and she goes, you got to come down and apply. They got one position open in the street department, and they have one open for meter reading. Mm-hmm. So I went and applied and interviewed with one of the guys interviewed. He was a lot more skilled than I was, so he got pulled in the street department. So I started out. He said he started out at the bottom. I started out as a meter reader.
Hey,
that's
and
the
so,
bottom.
Yeah, that's the bottom. And so I did that for 2 years, and then was able to transfer over to street department as out there. It's called a UA helper, which is essentially a laborer. And I did that for 4 years. And then there you had to, in order to be a fitter, fuser, you had to be a welder. So I took their acetylene oxygen course, got certified in acetylene oxygen, and then I went to their fitter school. It was kind of their little 2-month apprenticeship program they had there. Then you go into field training and you either pass or you fail. And then I was in the field with Washington Natural Gas for 5 years, and they merged with a power company called Puget Power to become Puget Sound Energy. And I was there for a total of 11 years. And then the contractors came on board when the contractors started doing a lot of work for the operators.
Okay.
And initially I was hesitant to go. And then one of the guys talked to me. He's like, how much do you make? And I told him, he's told me how much he made. And I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm coming towards the contractor world. Yeah. But it was, so I worked for several contractors and then ended up being in the field for about 16 years. And then became a superintendent for 13 years doing new customer construction and stuff like that. And so most of the guys that I got all the new guys, the new hires out of the union hall. So I would be the one to train them or at least place them with people who would train them. And we did strictly platted developments, which was customer provided, and open ditch services, which was customer provided. So it was a good starting point for them. And then from there, they could leap on to actually doing conversion services, conversion mains, tapping, stopping, stuff like that. For me, I was pretty much only in the distribution world. The only high pressure I did was leaks or did a couple of high pressure taps, whereas Matt has done a lot of distribution and high pressure stuff. But my whole world was pretty much distribution. And then I left there and went also to the college. And it was a whole different approach or a whole different angle to what I was used to. Because when you train as a superintendent or you have people do it, it's a little bit different. And so I got to learn a lot there. And I was mostly a traveling trainer. Spent most of my time in Carson City, Phoenix, and Las Vegas doing their program there. And I was teaching the fitters course there, initial joiners course there. Okay. And then these guys started up. We all got laid off, and then these guys had started up the Field Precision, and then brought me on board, and then it's been awesome. You know, we've done mostly OQing, some training, and then of course training or OQing and CBTs, computer-based testing and stuff like that. And so, but it's nice to go out and see the people and see the crews and see the difference that we're making for them or helping them out. And it's kind of silly. I don't know why I'm bringing it up, but I always wear a whistle on my shirt because when I was training people, a lot of them were young kids and they were really leery about teachers, right. That kind of thing. And so I tell them, I'm your coach, I'm here with you. I'm on your team. I'm on your side, I want to help you get through it because you're a direct reflection of my ability to help train you or teach you, and I get a lot out of those guys too. I learn something every day. And then since I've been here in Boston, I haven't been here as long as these guys, but I've been pretty impressed with the crews that I've been seeing. And like he said, we'll pull them all aside and have a conversation with them about accountability. We talk to them about having a nice tight shot group on stuff as far as, we're not here to hammer on you or hurt you. We're here to help you. When I was in the Army, we went to the range every week in the Ranger Battalion. You fired a weapon because if you didn't do it, you were going to get lackadaisical and you weren't going to do good at it. And so, but that was, he was a hard suit to follow, but that's pretty much how I got here. And and I'll be, as of January 16th, it'll be my 35th year in the industry.
There you go.
So I don't look that old, do I?
No, not at all. I never would have guessed that. Never would have guessed that.
But I appreciate your time and I appreciate you having me on here.
No, I appreciate your service, number one.
Thank you.
And number two, the fact, all the experience and everything else that you're bringing to the table. I mean, that's big for us. That's big for, any customer for Field Precision OQ. You guys have seen so many different things, so many different OQ plans and everything else. And sometimes for us, especially like in my role with DDS, the guys are great and you get to know them like on a personal level. You get to know, how this guy's doing or, this guy's, doing this or whatever, inside and outside of work. And, sometimes it's nice to get a bigger perspective on the industry and on things as a whole. And here at Feeney, I'm getting some of that as well. But having you three come in and talk, today during our morning meeting, having you speak a little bit, that was impactful for those guys. That helped more than you'll ever know.
Good deal.
So that was pretty big. But
it happens in the field too.
It does.
Yeah. We go out there and we don't, become best friends with the guys, but they know we're here for
Right.
them. And we let that known, and they spill it. They spill all the guts.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. They tell us everything, what
Tell
they're
you
not
all the
happy
tea.
about and what they're happy about. So it's I heard a handful today, from a great crew, a great crew foreman, and he told me what was on his mind.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. But cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Cruz, what you got going on?
Yeah, well, my story is a little different than these folks, man. I was not supposed to be alive past 17. I chose the streets. I come from a great home, mom and dad. My dad was a mechanic. My mom was a teacher. And when talk about sacrifices, so in order for me to do better, my mom did the ultimate sacrifice and got me out of the environment. So I moved to New York, grew up in New York, went all the way up through middle school, and then from there moved to Arizona. So a different scenario. See if we can make something out of this kid. That was just trouble, and I barely made it out of high school. I think the teacher just didn't want to deal with me another year. And, been shot at, got shot once. And, I was either, one thing that I learned about this industry is, through a friend of mine, it's like, man, you know what, you gotta get it together. At that time I had a kid on the way, and, it's time for me to grow up and, be a man. And, I got the right job, so I was 17 years old when I started in the industry, 1994, August 5th. I started. I turned 18 on December. And, kind of took the opportunity. And one thing that I learned about this industry, and, anybody that listens out there, it doesn't matter if you go to Yale or you go to jail. This industry right here can change your life. It did for me. We raised 4 amazing kids in this industry. And, I wouldn't trade nothing in the world for it, because it changed my life. I'm able to help out my family, my mom and my siblings. Both of my sister and my brother got college degrees. And I think I did better without a college degree than they did. They tell me all the time, man, you're like the man, you're always doing this. But the biggest life hack that I've learned, and anybody out there listening, is move away from your hometown. It will make you stretch beyond your imagination or what you can do out there and what you can accomplish. Because if I had stayed on that same circle where I was growing up, man, I would not be here today. And my sister tells me, man, you travel all over, it's been a lot of sacrifices, man, and had really great mentors in this industry. And I've mentored a lot of young folks, in this industry. I have guys that, I started, as a laborer, worked my way up to pipe fitter, got my CDL, became an operator. I work in a non-union state, so you have to do everything, operator. I was one of the youngest foremen out there, by 2003, I was already a supervisor, but I earned every step. I was hungry, I wanted more, and I was willing to stretch, and I was, if there's an opportunity to move up and you gotta go out of town, sign me up, let's do it. I sacrificed a lot because I wanted more and I didn't want that lifestyle anymore. And, and so 2003, all the way up until 2012, then I moved to a different state. My amazing wife, she dropped everything and let's go, let's chase your career. So we made it to Washington State from Arizona. From Arizona to Washington State to California. Was there for another 3.5 years. Once the kids were grown and gone, and the wife decided she wanted to move to Florida. So there we go, across country again.
Wow.
And, then I started working for a different company there, but still in the industry. I sold cars. I've always been. This is actually my fifth business. But I always been in that entrepreneurial spirit. In America, man, you can do it. So the passion that we have for the industry, it's unparalleled. So fast forward to the college, is where I got to meet these two amazing gentlemen here. That place literally put together some of the best fine gentlemen that I ever worked with in the gas industry, brought us all together, and we had we still keep in touch with everybody on that group. And they created such an amazing group, and everybody has a different skills, These two gentlemen right here, we've been through a lot together. I mean, they only share a little bit, but we've been through hell and back, and they're some of my best friends, they're brothers to me. And so December of last year, we were in this position. We're like, man, what are we gonna do? We can't go through this. I'm pushing 50. I'll be 49 next month. I don't want to ever go through this disappointment again. Let's just see what happens. I think Matt was like, "I'm gonna give it a year and see what happens." I said, "No way, man. We're burning the boats, man. We're making this thing happen."
There you go.
And because there's lives to be changed out there, and he's passionate, and we got guys basically just waiting for us to make something happen so they can come on board, and we can continue changing lives. And this is just the beginning. And for being a brand new company, we've got to 30 years. It's almost what I got. Well, 30 years in the industry of relationships cultivated, that little by little, like, wow, no, I see where you guys are at right now. And, and just everything's paying off with that integrity, that we talk about, it's that reputation, it goes hand in hand, with what we're trying to do. And it's just a blessing, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to being here, and also being here on this podcast too, which is, it's awesome to get our stories out there, and yeah.
Yeah, I think that we're what is really occurring to me right now is the fact that, what would you say? Just about 90 years of gas experience right here. And I'm kind of the odd duck out. I've got about 4. And that kind of makes me the odd man on this whole deal. However,
that's 94 years of experience then.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. I love that. Thank you for being inclusive. I do love that. But no, it's a different deal. The gas industry itself it's amazing how big the industry is, but it's also amazing how small it is. And I find that even, on the civil side, just went to the Area Dirt World Summit, and there's 1,200 people in this room trying to figure out how to attract, retain, take care of their guys, take care of the help they have, attract the next generation, all those pieces. 1,200 people. Last year it was less than 9, right around 900 people. I mean, that's companies from across the world. I met a gentleman from Australia that has a civil business down there. But it's not just civil guys. It's dirt guys. It's, directional drillers. It's mining. It's, it's the entire industry. Utilities is coming on board too. And so I think that it's really cool how, here we are, 94 years sitting around the table of gas experience and different experiences all the way around. And there's still that disconnect out there between those guys coming out of high school and the industry.
Yeah.
That's something that I don't know how we bridge that.
One of the things that I've learned too is so if you haven't noticed yet, I got ADHD, like severe.
Okay.
So I wasn't diagnosed until I think it was 2016. So all my life going through school, I always thought that I was just dumb. I didn't get it. I didn't understand things. And so, that's hard for a teenager. And I was like, I guess the only thing that I'm good at is doing, the other stuff, right?
Right.
But when I was finally diagnosed, life changing. So when we're training and we're teaching these kids, I can spot it and I recognize it, and then I can address it, because I am a hands-on person. So we teach and, trying to find the way of making the connection. And there's a lot of folks out there that ADHD now is like almost everybody, has it, or some sort of a, disconnect, right? And, the regular education doesn't fit, or it doesn't, they don't cater to that. So finding that niche, where you can connect with that person, and relate, be relatable, so I can see it and I can address it, and we can try to make people understand. And that's big in our industry, because there's a lot of folks that I talk to out there when it comes to taking computer tests.
Yeah, they don't want anything to do with that.
And I'm one of those. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, I was taking computer tests, because we got to continue our education. When they put a timer on me, oh my gosh,
it's tough, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, for a person like me, because I'm constantly fighting with my brain. Oh my gosh, I got this much time and I got to double check this. Oh, did I pick the right one? Because that's what an ADHD person brain does. And, versus somebody with a normal person, they can just sit there and go through their test and be done. I hated being that last person to finish a test. I was always me, always. And so as I see guys taking computer tests, I can understand, and I can, so it makes it a lot easier. But it wasn't, like I said, 2016 when I was diagnosed as an adult, because I took my youngest child to get tested and he didn't have it. I had it. And it was like, I think, there's a disconnect out there. There's definitely something for everybody out there. You just got to find it, and this was a perfect fit for me.
Yeah, I agree.
We're perfect examples of, you're not going to get rich doing this, but I raised 2 kids. I had a wife for 25 years, and then had a house, took a couple of vacations a year, a boat. So you might not get rich, but you can definitely make a very good living. And and like I think Matt said it, it's really up to you how far you want to go. Well, we had guys who were dump truck drivers that are like, nope, this is as far as I'm going. You're the best at it. Keep being a dump truck driver. For me, I wanted to keep going up, and I knew I wasn't going to go to college. I went for 2 years, but it was like, no, I was, 2.0 average. It's like, yeah, I'll never be a brain surgeon. So, but I found something I was good at. Not everyone can be a pilot. Not everyone can be a doctor, but I was a really good gas fitter. And I found what worked for me, and I dove right in. And then when I'm around people, even the guys that were visiting, I get a lot from them. We're giving them information or helping them with stuff, but a lot of times they're giving us, teaching us stuff, and we take that on to the next people when we can, and it's like, I never thought of that. I still, at this day, there's certain things that some people have said to me when I first started in the field that have stuck with me the rest of my life. And there was a guy who came up to me. He was my foreman, and it was the first time I'd ever been in the field. I didn't know how to kick a shovel. And he told me, if you go from the truck to the work pit, your hands are empty, you're wrong. You go from the work pit back to the truck and your hands are empty, you're wrong. He goes, good habits are as hard to break as bad habits. You better start establishing good habits now. And then for all my life now, I've thought, or all my career in the gas industry, that's just stuck with me, So, anyway.
Cool thing about this industry, there's a spot for everybody. Yeah, there's, you manipulate the weaknesses and get better, and you manipulate the strengths and you find your direction.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's a spot for everybody. There's growth. Yeah. This industry isn't going anywhere. I have, seen that maybe detour as far as bringing on, applicants or, people coming in, they look at the news or their phone and they're like, oh no, but this industry's not going anywhere. It's here to stay.
Yeah.
It's been here for a few hundred years already. So
yeah, it's certainly here to stay. And the amount of older leak prone pipe and things like that these companies are mandated to change out. It can't. It just can't go anywhere for a good long while.
Yeah, we had that same conversation today on the cruise, and I actually forgot I had a pretty cool cast iron tap tee in the back of the truck now.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, I've never seen it. It was pretty awesome. But they said, "Here, you want this?" I was like, "Heck yeah,
yeah,
I
souvenir, right?
I got to show that to people, as many people as I can.
Yeah.
People don't get to see that, so it was cool.
Yeah, those things are kind of cool, especially when you come across them. I know in the Feeney Training Center, I don't know if you've seen the write-up yet for it or not, but I'm sure you saw the fish tank with the wooden log.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody told you the story on that. Late 1800s is when they're suspecting that went in or was in, and they dug it up, I think in the 80s or early 90s up in North Boston.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat.
I've offered to pay for that. I collect pipes. I know it sounds kind of funny, but I have a pretty good pipe necklace going, because we travel, we see different systems, different locations, and
We dumpster dive every chance we get.
There you go.
Anytime I get a chance to add to the necklace, I do. And I seen that wood piece, and I took some pictures of the wood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a write-up for it. You'll have to remind me. I'm meeting with a gentleman that's helping us with the artwork in the training center and trying to dress that up a little bit. And he's going to do a write-up on the wall and kind of put some photo with it, and
That'd be neat.
That would
make it cool.
That's the coolest thing I've seen since I've been here.
Yeah.
That was something that it drew my eye the first trip I made into that space. And when we talked about the rehab of that space, that was one of those non-negotiables. I'm like, look, we've got to have a spot for this. I don't care what we got to do, how we got to build it. I don't care if somebody gets a small office. I'll take the hit. I'll take a small office. I don't care, but we got to keep that.
Yeah.
And the guys are like, okay, yeah, we can do that.
That's museum worthy.
Yeah, here in Boston, I was expecting a lobster to crawl out of it.
Now that would be hilarious. Maybe I got to find a plastic one to put in there. They just give me ideas.
I looked at that. I looked at that piece of pipe, and it's 15, 16 inch pipe.
Yeah, it's pretty substantial.
A 3 to 4 inch hole, and you just kind of wonder. You're curious. Back in the day, it's 1800s, obviously, but you just wonder how they, put the tap in, or they tap the low pressure there. I hear stories and I read stuff about the corkscrews and the popping, and imagine the labor it took and the amount of trees it took to actually build a pipeline like that.
I know. That was crazy.
And imagine the leaks.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy. I thought that was super awesome.
Yeah, there's some neat things in the industry that people don't even realize. But for us in the training space, we get to see so much more than just a guy on the crew that's just going in, laboring and shoveling in the ditch. It's a blessing for us to be able to meet so many people and be able to see as much as we get to see. You talk about your interactions with our crews and, with the other crews and with, all the folks from the colleges and things like that.
Well, guys, that's a wrap for part 1 with the Field Precision crew, but we're just getting started. What you just heard is the foundation, brotherhood, field leadership, and a culture built on doing it right. But in the next episode, we go even deeper. In part 2, we talk about mentorship, growth, and the weight that comes with being the one others look up to. These guys don't shy away from that responsibility. They own it. If you're someone who leads in the field or wants to, trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and come back for part 2 of Field Precision, right here on the Built-In Boots podcast. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you on the next episode.